What's going on, Wolfpack Nation? Hope everybody's doing well this evening. Obviously, I know that it's a little bit of a sour taste this evening, unfortunately, due to a 45-42 loss to Wake Forest yesterday. But, obviously, I think, for us, one of the things we always try and push for is, again, trying to stay positive, because at the end of the day, hey, again, there's always, something every single day to be, excited about as a state fan and to be looking forward to. And I know that, obviously, again, it's tough to look at a loss, but again, we're going to kind of dive into kind of the positives and the negatives and talk about what's coming up here with, Syracuse coming up here and kind of go from there. But obviously, again, it was a high scoring affair. I think, going into it that, that if any of us were told that Wake Forest was going to score 45 points, I think that all of us would say, that would probably a tough up-road hill for us for sure to win a game like that, just because I think that's the last thing that we needed was to go into a shootout with Wake Forest. But so Macon, I'll kind of hand it to you first. Obviously, again, for our followers, obviously everybody knows that Macon and I were at a wedding yesterday, which went well, obviously, and I can confirm that during our time there, every single time that we made eye contact, we were either giving a nod or
right.
or what's going on?
We had to make it like very subtle, though, because it was my sister getting married. So we were like, okay, we were like,
yeah, time? Like, 1 hour. So
no, but it was, I guess, yeah, for me, I'm going to try to go off purely the stats for this game because I wasn't able to watch most of it. I know you were able to get back to TV quicker late in that, being my family. I only really got to see the fourth quarter, the end of the fourth quarter. But the two takeaways I had of why we lost this game were red zone inefficiency and third down defense.
Mm-hmm.
The little bit I got to watch, and I sound like it was consistent. I mean, again, I watched the fourth quarter. We were holding them first, second down pretty well, and then third down they would just seem like every drive they would just gash us on those third downs and get the first down, and it would be like 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 7, and we would just not we would not stop them. I think by that point the defense in the fourth quarter is probably gassed. So I know, look back, I know Chris Dunn missed a field goal. Personally, I don't think that's why we lost. I don't think you can blame Chris Dunn for the reason why we lost the game. He missed one field goal. Granted, if we would have had it now in hindsight, yeah, we would have been tied. But I think the one missed field goal is not as significant as the third down the poor third down defense or the red zone inefficiency on offense. It just felt like when I was checking the little moments I could check my phone to see the game stats, I saw, we're in the red zone, great, and then it's a field goal. We're in the red zone, great. Okay, we didn't really get anything there, or it's an interception or something that affected. There's that, and then the only other thing that I would say, I was just looking through these stats here. Penalties were huge. I mean, we had 14 penalties for 119 yards. Wake Forest had 5 penalties for 50 yards. So that's 70-yard difference. Is that the highest penalties we've had all season? I think it may be.
Probably close.
Yeah, I would say so. Without knowing off the top of my head, I bet money yes that you're correct on that.
But then I add this too, and I think probably something else you guys probably want to highlight. I would say turnovers were a big factor, which I would tend to agree with that because we had 2 interceptions and 2 fumbles. Although I think we got one of those fumbles back.
Yeah.
But Wake Forest ended up throwing 3 interceptions, so they somewhat balanced out. At the end of the day, you could argue that we had 4 turnovers to their 1, but we really had 3 changes of possessions of their 3. I feel that would cancel out. The score seems to reflect that. We're evenly ranked. The time of possession was, like within 3 minutes difference of each other. I thought it looks like penalties, red zone inefficiency on offense, and third down inefficient defense were the main factors why we lost the game.
And Michael too. Before I know I want to let you kind of give your thoughts as well. But for those who are tuning in with us, make sure again if you have already, make sure to send us a chat. Let us know who's here. Would love to hear who's tuning in with us and hear any questions or thoughts you have as well. And we'll definitely touch base on those here after Michael kind of gives his feedback as well. So Michael, I'll hand over to you.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of ironic that in the biggest game of the year, we were relying on our offense to keep us in it when the whole year we've been relying on the defense. And like Macon said, it was not getting off the field. We started out the Wake's first two offensive possessions was 3 and out, and we came away with
3 points.
3 points on that. Sorry,
3 points.
Yeah, 3 points. They were on third down. They were 10 of 19. Fourth down, they had one big fourth down conversion at the end of the game that we really needed to get a stop there.
Yeah.
And it was tough. I mean, it was not a game we wanted to play, like high scoring like that. That's obviously just not our type of football with this team. And there were injuries. It was crazy amount of injuries. Seemed like every other play somebody was going down. Daniel Joseph went down.
Yeah, that was kind of crazy. You're right.
He came back in and then went out again. And
a lot of injuries.
On both sides. I mean, it was both teams, so I don't know. It's just a really physical game.
And to me, it looked to me the one thing I could maybe think of it. I think both teams really wanted this win, and they're both playing very physical. And I wonder in part if there was just some nerves with it because there's pressure on both sides. After Wake lost, they're not perfect anymore, and they want that win. They want to prove themselves. We want to prove ourselves. And I was looking even back like A.T. Perry for Wake Forest. He's him and Jacory Roberson, but are their best receivers. But I would say State. You could tell their game plan was to shut him down and Jacory Roberson down, and it looks like they did so. I mean,
only had one catch. He only had one catch.
Well, then A.T. Perry had 5 receptions for 22 targets. He was 5 for 22. So,
I mean, Hartman was only 20 of 47.
You said Jacory Roberson had 6. Had 1 reception. You said,
yeah, 1 reception.
So what you're saying is, how many? Do you know how many times he was targeted?
No, but I mean, almost half of Hartman's throws were to A.T. Perry. I mean, that's insane.
12 times. So Jacory Roberson was 1 for 12, and A.T. Perry was 5 for 22. So you have 6 for 34.
Like if you had told me that, and that Sam Hartman threw 3 interceptions, I would have said we won this game.
We won this game.
Yeah, they were 6 for 34, and we got 3 picks. But to me, we lost this game because we blew it.
Yeah,
we stepped on our own toes way too much. We weren't efficient on offense when we needed to be, and on defense when it was critical downs, it just didn't work.
Yeah,
we could have put them away early. Again, that's the problem. Is that and that's one thing that I was excited about was that we forced them to go 3 and out, and we got points on the board. Now, obviously, it would have been better if it was a touchdown, obviously. But again, I think we even said this during our last live stream, which is that if we score first, then that's going to put us in a good position because Wake Forest is notorious for scoring first and running away with it, basically. And so yeah, I mean, it was definitely an odd thing, but again, it seemed like a weird night for both teams. But
Matt Hasselbeck said it on the broadcast, just what you said, making that Hartman, he was bad. I mean, objectively, 3 interceptions, under 50% passing, and Leary also had 3 interceptions. They're both usually pretty accurate passers.
2 interceptions,
two. But he was still, and he was like, it just seems like this is it's a big game, and you can tell both teams are amped up for it.
So we want to make sure as well to kind of highlight some of the chats that's coming in. So obviously, Brian Boy, I agree with you making about third down defense for sure. Again, I mean, 12 for 20 on third down for Wake Forest. That's killer. And Connor Hudson said Wake didn't have any good plays on 3rd and 4th. QB would just throw it up and the wide receiver would make the play. Yeah, I mean, and it seemed like that would happen a lot, and that's something that I'm going to be kind of curious about, because one situation that State fans got to think about is that for the first half of Syracuse, Shaheem Battle won't be able to play because of the targeting penalty.
Yep.
So which means Zamir White's going to have to jump in there, assuming that he's going to be the cornerback to step in. And unfortunately, he's definitely not
Zamir White, Aiden White. Zamir White's running back from Georgia.
Sorry. Yeah. Aiden White, sorry. Aiden White is going to have to jump in, and more likely, assuming that he's the cornerback that's going to. And unfortunately, he hasn't been playing the best recently, and so definitely need him to step up. And then Hunter Smith talked about how the officiating was terrible, and then the run game. So, want to kind of talk a little bit about that. So, it seemed like with this game that I wouldn't necessarily say that the run game was bad. I would just say that it didn't seem like it was a part of the game plan. I mean, we ran the ball 18 times for 74 yards, so a little bit over 4 yards a carry, which again isn't bad. So, but it just seemed like it just wasn't a part of the game plan, really.
And I'll add this too: penalties account into rushing yards.
True.
So I think they do at least. I believe that's the case.
What kind of penalty yards
do? I don't know.
Maybe I'm wrong on that.
But yeah,
maybe.
Anyway, and we were playing from behind basically the whole game, besides the right at the start of the second half. So
we threw the ball 59 times.
Yeah.
So again, it's and again, I mean, obviously Leary, even though he didn't play his best game, he still threw for over 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. I mean, yeah, he had 2 interceptions, but again, it just seemed like that he was playing a little bit more aggressive this game than maybe typically he would. But one thing though, which I do want to talk about, which I was very, happy for, which is that Emeka Emezi had a career game for sure. And I think that, again, I know that that was one thing I've been pushing for the longest time, even during the preseason, which is that I expected Emeka to have a big game. Now, obviously, it's not necessarily as highlighted because obviously we didn't come out with the win, but the guy had 10 catches for 133 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a 2-point conversion catch. And I know that I posted and I kind of tweeted this about how, I called saying he was going to have 150 yards catching and 3 touchdowns, but he had 133 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a 2-point conversion. So I was like, that's pretty close.
Close. That third one was close. He when at the end of the game,
that's right.
Leary threw it to him. It was kind of out of bounds, but Devin Carter ended up making that catch on the next play, but he could have had 3.
Yep. And then even on top of that, Devin Carter had 7 catches, 132 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So a big night for him as well. It just seems like every single game there seems to be one wide receiver that was off. And with this game, Porter Rooks seemed to be the Butterfingers wide receiver, unfortunately, which was a bummer. He had a couple of bad drops for sure. And again, not to say here again, I think that if any State fan can learn from this team, if there's any lesson that can be learned, is that every single wide receiver that's had a bad night, like the Devin Carter for the Miami game, or you look at any of these guys, that had like a bad game, and then they've bounced back every single time. So again, Porter Rooks has been amazing so far this season. He had a bad game against Wake Forest, but I fully expect him to bounce back for sure. So now the one thing which go ahead, Macon.
You finish your thought. You're on your roll. Keep going.
Well, I was going to ask a question if that was okay, because I'm curious on y'all's thoughts about this. So what is y'all's thoughts on Thayer Thomas? It seems like he's not been bad, just hasn't been really a part of the game plan really as well. It seemed like the ball's not going his way that much over the last couple games.
I think it's just been that Emezi and Carter have been so good. Mm-hmm. I will say when we were down 10 points, 45-35, and driving down the field, Leary pretty much looked for Thayer every single play. And I think he had 3 or 4 catches to set us up to score that last touchdown. So I don't think it's like Leary obviously trusts him if he's going to go to him almost every play at the end of the game. I think it's just I think we just have a lot of talent at wide receiver.
Yep, I agree. Macon, you have anything to add on that?
I need to watch film, watch it back to see, are they just trying to take out Thomas out of the game? I seem like they would want to take out Thayer and want to take out Emezi and Carter, maybe more so. But I don't know. I would want to know what the progression is. You don't know what that is. Thayer may not be the first look, and it may just be inconsistent. And I don't know the answer to that question. But I will say this, my point. One thing I saw
Go
here
ahead.
that Hunter Smith had for rushing the ball. He said we asked Leary to throw the ball 59 times, and we got to run some. But scoring 42 points should be enough to win a game. So we can say that, and that's fine. And do we need to improve our run game? Yes. But Leary threw for like over 400 yards and had how many touchdowns did he have?
Four touchdowns.
4 touchdowns, 408 yards, 4 touchdowns, and we scored 42 points. I mean, that should be enough to win the game. So yeah, totally. We need to work on the run game. I mean, we're like two games. We're going to be bowl eligible for 3 games left, and we're going to be playing. They need to figure it out, and I think it's kind of too little, too late to a degree. I think we are what we are at this point, and we'll need to address it going into the off season. But I just think the one thing to your point, I'm not trying to diss Hunter at all. I'm just saying 42 points should be enough. He threw for 400 plus yards and 4 touchdowns. That is getting it
was
done.
working.
And that's yes. So
it was working.
That's all it was.
And again, the run game wasn't bad. Again, we averaged over 4 yards a carry. So I mean, it's not that it was bad, but again, it just seemed like it was a part of the game plan. Which why wasn't it a part of the game plan? I don't know. I mean, again, Wake Forest, I think average is over 150, almost 200 yards a game rushing the ball. So I mean, I'm curious why. But go ahead.
I think Dorn said that they also. I think they had a cornerback or 2 injured, and in his post-game press conference, he said he wanted to take advantage of that.
And I think Macon actually pointed that out earlier this week or something like that about how Wake Forest is going to be missing a corner. So, and again, it worked. So that's what I'm saying is that overall yesterday, and again, I truly do ask fans. I mean, again, that I understand the frustration for sure. I mean, obviously, this was a big season, a big opportunity for NC State for sure. And obviously, unfortunately, we weren't able to take advantage of it, but at the end of the day, I mean, we played hard. I mean, again, for one of the things I was really impressed by was us bouncing back at the end of the first half to make it a game before we went to halftime. Obviously, even in a position where, when Leary threw that touchdown to Devin Carter, I was even just saying, just get a field goal, make it a 1 possession game. And for us to get a touchdown was huge. So again, this team doesn't quit. They bounce back, they fight. And it was evident last night. Now, obviously, I mean, offense and defense had positives and also had negatives. There was times where defense looked good, but there was times where defense struggled. Now, I mean, obviously, one of the things that comes to my head is, Tony Gibson, that I was very much in a disagreement on his call to do an all-out blitz. And what was it?
I know it was in the fourth quarter because I saw it. It was the fourth quarter.
Last drive Wake Forest had, it was 3rd and 13, and we did an all-out blitz. And it's like the Wake Forest all night has every single time we blitz, they've done pretty much like a fade route basically, because it's man-to-man coverage. And A.T. Perry and Jacoby Roberson are 6'5". So I mean, and unfortunately that bit us. So but again, we played a game. We played a good game. I mean, again, not a great game, but we played a good game, and it was respectable. And hey, I mean, hats off to Wake. At the end of the day, they made
their offense is the real deal. What you just need to take away from that. I mean, they were saying, hey, well, they haven't played a defense as good as us, and to their credit, they hadn't, and they put up 45 points on us. And so they are the real. I'm going to just come from the normal fan side of me, which we're just fans talking state stuff. It just frustrates me so bad how we can never get over that hump over there. The stat I heard Lee Corso on college football game day, 1-8. Now we are 1-9 at Wake. The last 10 games. So that means the last 20 years we have won 1 time at Wake.
I know.
That is crazy.
Insane. And it just it just makes me so irritated, especially when you have it right there. And granted, it's an historically amazing Wake Forest team. And it would be State's luck that the one year they can beat Clemson and they could be one of the best teams that this team just rises up and just beat. It just irritates the crap out of me. I'm just being blunt. It's an opportunity that as a State. I know. I'm just trying. We empathize as State fans. We want it so bad. Is there? I'll have to go look at the scenarios. I don't think if we're officially out of it,
we're not.
But if Wake wins one more game, it's done.
It's over. Right. But again,
Do you
they still
wanna-
have to play Clemson and Boston College. That's what I'm saying. I mean, it's going to be 2 tough games. And again, Phil,
We have to
Jurkovec,
win our games too.
well, we have to win our games. But again, I mean, we're not. But again, I mean, so Syracuse, and again, we're going to talk a little bit about the ACC here. But Syracuse, I think, we always kind of every single week talk about like, what teams do we know are good, what teams do we know are bad, and Syracuse, I think, is probably one of the only teams, and they see that I'm like, I still don't know. We're 10 games in. I still can't figure out if Syracuse is good or bad. But and then obviously you got a big game against Carolina, and honestly, I think that is a huge opportunity still on the table for us. That Carolina game, that is a ginormous opportunity for us.
Man, I can tell you what though. Let's say you're right. It is. I feel like in part, I will say this. I think the injuries are starting to catch up to us now. I think it's partly why you saw us struggling like we did against Wake Forest. I mean,
yeah.
Again, back against Florida State a week ago, we had 8, 9 starters out. Most of them were defensive players. And last night you had, Bam get injured at one play. You had Durden get injured one play. You had Cheyenne Battle get out of the game. You had Tyler Baker-Williams, Daniel Joseph get injured. It's just like we're going to have to adjust our expectations. If we keep getting this injured, I mean, how can we can't then go and be like, you guys have blown it, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
The team's injured. Like, I mean, if they're injured, they're injured. And it's like, we just need to understand that. But that's all I was going to say to that. It's just kind of make sure we have some perspective a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, I still think I mean, there is a scenario where we could still get Charlotte for sure. But at the end of the day, all we could do is control what we do. So at the end of the day, all we need to focus on is, and that's one thing that I kind of love about this team is that every single week they've tweeted out, they've said #1-0 mentality. Then they're trying to come out 1-0 every single week. And because a lot of people said, well, are you worried about that State's going to, look past Syracuse? I'm like, no, I don't think so. Because why? Because they've publicly said we are 1-0 mentality. And even after, with Trent Penix, all the players have said #1-0 mentality, even after losing to Wake Forest. So at the end of the day, I fully expect that. And because, looking at the Syracuse game, I truly do think it's as simple as we play our game, we win. It's that simple. We don't shoot ourselves in the foot. We don't turn the ball over. Just play our game in front of a great Carter-friendly crowd. We're going to win the game. I truly don't think it's going to take like any kind of, magic dust or any kind of, mistakes from Syracuse in order to win this game. So, but I mean, Michael, would you kind of agree with that?
Yeah. I mean, Syracuse seems pretty one-dimensional with
Schrader.
Sean
Take
Tucker.
away the run, dare him to throw on you.
Basically.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, he's a great running back. Obviously, he's leading the ACC, and it's probably top 10 in the nation, I would say.
And it's a home game. We're back at home. I mean, we're gonna. I'm gonna kind of say knock on wood, but we're gonna win that game. I mean, it should not be like this struggle to win that game, especially back at home. But yeah, you're right. They are one dimensional. And when you asked earlier, Leighton, is Syracuse a bad team or a good team? I think they're a bad team. I think the nights they do well, I do. I think the nights they're doing well, they're just clicking. I think it's more so their defense is bad.
Well, and the reason why, and I'll have to try and find which game it was, but I think it was Virginia Tech. So Schrader, their quarterback. No, it was a different game. Anyway, there was a game where basically Schrader had like 4 rushing touchdowns and 2 passing touchdowns. Like he just had like a ridiculous game. And again, I mean, look, like they took.
Wasn't Wake Forest, was it? Wasn't Wake Forest, was it?
Well, they took Wake Forest to overtime. I mean, so that's
saying it wasn't that game, right? I don't know, maybe.
No, but anyway, but again, I mean, there are some games on here. I mean, they beat Liberty, Liberty is solid this year. So that's what I'm saying. They have some good wins, but they have some bad losses. I mean, they just got blown out by Louisville, absolutely blown out. So, and actually NC State, by the way, too, for those who are curious, is opened up as an 11.5-point favorite over Syracuse, which is interesting.
Oh, I was looking for that while we were talking, and I went back and also looked. Clemson is a 5-point favorite against Wake Forest.
Which is interesting as well.
That is interesting.
Yeah. So basically, we need Wake Forest to lose their last 2, and we need to win our last 2, and we're probably going to be favored in our last 2 and and Wake Forest. I mean, they're
The Boston College Wake Forest game is very
Boston College,
interesting. I mean, they both are.
Yeah, they may be underdogs. Slight. I mean, it'd be like maybe 1 or 2 points.
We're gonna be pulling. We're gonna be big Tiger fans and Eagle fans the next couple weeks.
Which and by the way, too, I think it's kind of ironic how the one podcast opponent podcast that we've had on is Fourth and Dude, who's with Boston College, and I just can't even like put through my head like if we beat Syracuse and Wake Forest loses to Clemson, that like we're going to be blowing up their Fourth and Dudes DMs, being like, please pull out this win, please pull out this win, come on, man, come on.
Well, you got to think if Jerkovich is healthy still at that point. That'll be what, week 3 of having him back, week 4 of having him back. He should be totally back in the swing of things by that point. Again, if he's healthy.
And the crazy thing too, and see here, I'm actually trying to find it, is so Phil Jakovic last night, he threw 20 passes and completed 13 of them. So you're thinking, so he probably threw like 150 yards, something like that.
60%-ish.
Yeah. So he threw 310 yards on 13 completions. So he averaged over 15 yards per completion, which I'm like, that is ridiculous.
Pretty good. He's taking some big shots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So again, I mean, Boston College is an interesting story, but
I would say, they're running really efficient offense where they can throw these like Trent Penix plays that are like shallow screens. They go for 40 yards.
Yeah, they may be doing some of that.
Well, they ran for 195 yards. I mean, they threw for over 300. So I mean, that's a pretty efficient offense right there, if you ask me. So, and it was at Georgia Tech too. So, interesting fact. But yeah, and so wanted to kind of talk a little bit about some of the comments in here. So Hunter Smith, pointed out how we lost 2 conference games by a total of 3 points. Nope. You mean
4 points?
4 points. 4 points. Because I was like, well, we lost to Miami by something, right? So, 4 points. Okay, I see you, Hunter. You corrected yourself. And then Gammy B pointed out we really won both games, but point wise, obviously not. Yeah, I mean, I think Wake Forest again. I mean, they were both 2 really good teams, and again, Miami. I'm shocked that they lost to Florida State, and I mean, I'm shocked that Florida State actually really, for the most part, controlled that game. That was definitely a shocker to me.
I think that goes to tell you how critical Jordan Travis is to Florida State. Because the 1 week we played without him, they did not play well, and have him back, totally different style. So,
yeah. And Gamgee Ape makes sure to point out that we have never been more of a Clemson fan before, which I completely agree with that as well. So.
I really liked Colby Pleasant's comment. He said that I didn't realize this. UNC has lost every single road game this year that they played.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
And they play at They play at State this year, which is I think is the point he's trying to make. He's trying to get at there.
Yeah. Yep. Well, because like, and that's why, like, when you pointed out how, maybe we'll probably be a favorite against Carolina, but I mean, Wake Forest played Carolina and was at that point like top 10 team in the country, but yet Carolina was favored. It was like, what? Yeah. So I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Carolina was favored against us, even if we did beat Syracuse. Which I mean,
who knows?
We'll see. But but one of the other things as well, which I wanted to kind of talk about as well, is obviously there's a lot of talks, especially looking through social media, which is obviously never a fun thing to look through after NC State lost, but a lot of people are talking about Doran here and obviously thinking that this is going to be the ceiling and like, that we should let him go because this is as good as going to get. We're only going to, be close to making it, but never actually get there. But
I didn't even turn on my phone or even look at my phone. I have not looked at any Twitter since the game. Because I was like, I just know what people are going to be saying. They were like, "Oh, the worst coach ever," blah blah blah. Like, we suck. I was like, no, I'm not even going to deal with it.
Yeah.
No. Well, again, for a coach in the last 5 years to have 2 9-win seasons, have an 8-3 season, and have the most ACC wins in program history, which I know that's kind of an asterisk, but still, even on top of those ACC wins last year, he beat a very good Liberty team that only had 1 loss all season, and that was to us. And also too with I mean, a guy, I mean, that again, I mean, just I mean, if we need to go into here of why Doran is our guy, then I mean, I guess we can do it here because obviously I'm sure that maybe State fans may want to hear it, but again, I mean. Doran's our guy. I mean, this is a guy literally that, I mean, there's two examples off the field I can think of that immediately point out why that this guy gets it. Because first of all, last year, he's the guy that went on the EC Network at the end of the season with a box of a dozen donuts just to say, hey, you guys thought, you guys talked about whether, more of you guys would complete the Krispy Kreme challenge or state wins. Well, here you go. I'm going to give you like that is our guy, the guy that says, okay, you don't respect us. Well, check this out, brothers. And then also too, like Peyton Wilson, like I love this story about when we recruited Peyton Wilson, how both Larry Fedora and Dave Dorn were going to the same high school game that Peyton Wilson was playing in. And basically, Larry Fedora wanted to show up in this helicopter. And so the high school had to go through all these issues and things to figure out how is Fedora going to land the helicopter and all that jazz. And what did Dave Dorn do? He took Dave Huxtable. He put on some jeans and boots, and he went in his truck playing country music down the road as he drove to Peyton Wilson's game and watched his game. I mean, this guy connects, man. This guy gets he is NC State through and through. I mean,
here's what I don't get either. I'm looking back at the records we've had. We keep saying he's a bad coach. So the two arguments that come to my mind, or not, we don't, but these noobs on Twitter. So, okay. If he's so bad, okay, let's look. The moment Clemson is bad in the ACC, State is right there. Mm-hmm. The moment they're bad. Wake Forest happened to have the one year, but State's bad. And you'll say, well, yeah, again, like Wake Forest with their – okay, 2017, we had a record of 9-4. 2018, our record was 9-4. 2019, we had what now proves to be the outlier year. We won 4 games that season, but clearly we had a tremendous amount of injuries. Last season we were 8-4, and we were we had COVID, so we basically only play ACC games. We essentially the 8-4 is like, okay, that's one less than 9, but that was 7 ACC wins.
Yeah.
When was the last time State won 7 ACC games? I mean, I get it was COVID and you were forced to play the ACC, but you still had to win them. And then now we're looking at 7, and we're like 7 wins. We got 2 games left in the season. We could still get those 9 wins, and we could potentially, get in the bowl game, win that game. We still have a shot to be a 10-win season. And we're saying like Dorn's bad.
Yeah.
Like I mean, like who would come and be better right now? I mean, like we could pick anybody, but like realistically, who would actually come to State right now and be better? I mean, you might argue the Cincinnati coach might want to come a little bit because it's a step up from Group 5, but Doran has basically had at least an 8-win season, and granted, I'm assuming we win at least one more this season. But we'll have 8-win season 4 out of the last 5 seasons. When was the last time that happened at State? It's been a long time.
I mean, the only double-digit win season we've had was when we had at least I think ever was with.
We've only
Phillip
had one
Rivers,
10-win season. We've only had one 10-win season.
Phillip Rivers, the great one of, if not the best ACC quarterbacks.
And technically, we won 11 games that season. I'm looking at here. 2002. 2002 is 11 wins, but at least 10 wins.
Right. Now, and the one thing which I want to point out too is that everybody says that Clemson is bad. Which, again, when we say Clemson is bad, we just mean that they're not even close to as good as they usually are. But they're 7-3. I mean, they're not bad. They're just
let me
rephrase this. Let me add this to you too. In the last 20 years, the highest we've ever been ranked in the AP poll is 10th, and we are now ranked. Well, we were ranked 16th.
Yeah,
and he stinks. In 20 years, he's basically right there with the AP poll ranking. So he has been, and I don't know. Those people who say like he sucks, they're just people who want to complain a little bit. Now I get it. There's criticism as step fairly needs to go around. Like rushing game, we don't talk about it. We got to figure that out. And that seems to be uncommon because in the past we've run the ball very well. So maybe this is a year we've had a poor run game. But I just don't buy into the Doran is, terrible. We'll never get on. We'll never move away. And I think we'll break through at some point. I mean, technically, we're still out of it, but it just I'm getting on a soapbox a little bit. I want to try to stop.
No, I agree with you too. I mean, it's like at State, anybody we're gonna get, any coach we could, if we were to fire Doran start over next year, it's going to take 3 or
Ugh.
4 years to see results. We're not Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, where you'll have that 5-star recruits to fill in and come in. Like, you're still going to have to start over and rebuild. And Dorn's pretty solidly built his foundation here. And now it's just about, taking another step. And obviously this was a very ideal year with Clemson having a down year. But I mean, and it's still possible technically.
Well, and again, I think that this kind of proves to you that, everybody says, Dabo is going to figure it out, but I also kind of would say, who would have ever thought that Clemson would ever be this bad ever under Dabo? So,
and we say though, we say they're bad, but what is their record right now? The record is 7-3. So we're saying they're bad.
Right.
They're not bad. They're a good team. I heard one podcast, and I actually thought about it. I was trying to agree with him. One of the other NC State podcasts that was saying, is Clemson the most disrespected team in the country right now? Maybe. They're not even ranked, and they're 7-3.
They lost to the number 1 team by 7, the closest game they've played all year. They lost to Pitt.
They're not out of. They are just as much in the race for the championship as we are right now at this point. But they're bad.
Right.
They're not bad. They're just not national champion contenders this year.
Right. Exactly.
Yep. And because one thing is that one of the kind of knocks on Doran that I know from a lot of people is that, that he wins the game he's supposed to win, but he loses the games he's not supposed to win. And the one thing which I do kind of say is that, over time, I know, especially over the last like 2 years, we've actually had some good upsets. But the two things which I'll point out is, first of all, when you're building a program, you want to have a solid floor. And I would say definitely a solid floor, which I love, is again, you're not losing bad games. You're not getting upset. And that's something Doran has done a great job of staying away from, is having those bad losses. Because again, like, look at O'Brien, and again, I love O'Brien, for a lot of things. And obviously because one of the things that he could always beat Carolina. But, and also you could always almost bet that he was going to pull a huge upset every year. But also he would probably have at least one or two really bad losses. Mm-hmm. And every single year. So again, it's the inconsistency, like at the end of the day. And also too, like, one thing which I still think about is how last year, all right, we played Pitt. Heading into the fourth quarter, the ESPN percentage win probability had at one point had Pitt as an 80% likelihood of winning that game. And what happened? Mm-hmm. We won that game. We came back and won. Like State fans,
the very young quarterback,
right? With a very young quarterback,
inexperienced. Exactly. What I mean to say when I say young, inexperienced, but he was young too.
Well, he was young, yeah. But again, so and statistically, under Doran, and even under Doran early years, under O'Brien, under Amato as well, that was not something that State was really known for, was comebacks. And how many games last year? I remember Duke, for example, we went to that game halftime down and we won the game. And so again, it's just, there's no doubt this program's heading in the right direction. I
don't think anybody disagrees with that. But I think State, and what I was thinking this coming down the road the other day. State fans are a lot like there's other fans just like State fans all over the country. They that have tasted the mountaintop to a degree, and they just are like, if we can't succeed, we're like, oh, the sky is falling, guys. We're 7-3 with a chance to go 9-3. Cool the jets. Maybe we just don't win a championship this year, but we have a chance to go 9-3 with a 10-win season on the line. It's just cool the jets. But I don't know, man. I just thought there's fans all over the country that are just like, oh, if we taste more success and then we raise the bar to relative to where we just finished, and we're like, oh, okay, well, the bar used to be for us not too long ago as State fans, 7-5 was the bar.
Make a bowl game.
Let's get to the bowl game. That's a good season. We did it. Good season. See you next year, guys. That's great. Now we're 9 wins. Give me a break. Let's go over championship. How quickly do we forget? That's what I'm trying to get at. And I'm saying we don't need to settle, but
no,
just have perspective. That's all I'm getting at. And it irritates the crap out of me that we didn't win this game, and it bugs me. Honestly, you could argue maybe is it Tony Gibson's worst game, but I say that with the asterisk that we had a bunch of injuries. But Argentina has perspective. There's fans like Arabs everywhere. They'll be, LSU is going to fire Ed Orgeron, and they're not having a terrible season. And some of the other, I'm trying to think of some other coaches they're going to be firing that are just like having decent seasons relative to most of the country, but they're going to get fired because I don't know.
Yeah. No. Go ahead, Michael.
Well, I was just going to reference a comment right there. He said, I think it's just the fact that we are right there and feels like we fall short when we have big opportunities, which the thing is, we were never in the position to have that opportunity. Yes, we haven't gotten there yet, but you at least have to put yourself in the position every year to have the opportunity. And over the last couple of years, Doran has had us there.
Yeah. And I saw the game, I'm not Gamgee 8 on here. He says, I think it's just the fact that we were just right there, and it feels like we fall short when we have big opportunities. That's all it is. It's just like, we're so close. We just get over the hump and do it. And get. I get it. We all get it. It's frustrating to no end at times because you're just like, you haven't been there for so long and you're so badly want it.
Yeah. Well, and the one other example which I know state fans will pull up is 2017 when we played
close
Clemson,
to winning the division that year.
And if we would have won against Clemson, we would have won the division. And the one thing which I'll say against that is that I think going into that game, Clemson was almost a 10-point favorite. I think, give or take. I mean, Clemson was a decent favorite going into that game, and so it would have taken a lot for us to pull off that win. At the end of the day, I mean, again, Clemson was a great team that year, and so again, it's obvious. Again, if there's one thing that this year proves, it's that we are very close to the top. And again, it kind of shows that maybe there is kind of a weakness with Dabo. Not necessarily saying that he's a bad coach or he's not as good of a coach as we expected, but I'm just saying, it shows that again, there could be opportunities, down the road. It's not a call for. And at the end of the day, again, who knows what's going to happen with this offseason? I think if anything, this season proves that Doran does a great job with filling holes. Everybody said, "Oh my God, we lost to Liam McNeil. We're so screwed in on defense line." Well, he brought in Corey Durden, and oh my gosh, we need some help with the defensive backs. Well, he brought in Cyrus Vega and Derek Pitts, and then our offensive line is going to struggle. He brought in Zavala, and you name it. And so again, this transfer portal thing changes everything. Like every single year, every single offseason is a wide open book. Yeah, Mecca, CJ is going to leave probably. We're going to lose Icky.
I'd say the biggest loss may be these running backs.
Yeah, but
that's what I'm worried about. Look what happened to Carolina. They didn't lose. They lost. There's 2 starting running backs, and they're garbage.
But Jordan Houston.
Their defense is garbage too. But
but Jordan Houston is sticking around for a reason. I truly do believe that.
I agree with that.
So, he had a couple of big plays last night.
And I will say, if you see somehow Bam and Ricky stay, one of my kind of outside the ballpark. No, it's not too outside the ballpark. Is does Jordan Houston leave?
Oh,
Would he stick around another year?
No,
I don't think so.
Well, and again, honestly, for me, I was surprised that Trent Penix actually stuck around after this season. But hey, obviously,
paid off.
Doran did. Well, yeah, Doran did a great job proving to him there and telling him hey, you're going to have a role here. And but again, no matter what, it's obvious that that's right.
That's a great point. He also was hurt. Yep.
Whether it's coaching holes, whether it's player holes, it's obvious that Doran does a great job. Again, I don't see any reason why, you have to doubt that he's going to fill in. And again, there's what if? I know that Peyton Wilson, he said in an article that he's kind of 50-50 right now about whether he's going to come back or not. And again, if he goes, fully understand it. Why? Because at the end of the day, unfortunately, again, guys,
it's money in the future.
His money is his bones have to be made out of like paper, like a poor guy.
He's going to have to go with the whole idea of, I want to see if I can get drafted on my potential and what you've seen so far.
Or he could come back, stay healthy, and be an easy first-round draft pick if he stays healthy.
It's a gamble for him. It's a gamble for him.
It is. But so that's why no matter what decision he makes, we have to respect it either way. If he comes back, I'm excited, but I'm nervous.
Yeah, and I will say this, that for at least for you to just stay on the Peyton Wilson thing for a second, he's proven the talent's there. So you went with draft scouts, you don't have to question that. It's can you make it 2 years? Let's see if you can do it. It's not just a one season thing. And his season ended so early, he didn't really get to show it. And now he's gonna have to prove, are you healthy?
Yeah,
so
right.
It'll be interesting to see who comes and goes.
And Isaiah Moore. I mean, obviously that's a big interest
He's definitely
as well.
gone. Yeah.
Yeah. You think he's gone?
How old is he?
Well, I mean, I think
he's technically only I think he's got one more year of eligibility.
I think he's technically got one more. Yeah, exactly. I mean, the one thing which I will say is, I mean, he did have a great season, but again, I said this, and because a lot of people were asking this question, do you think he's going to come back? And I said it depends on how the season goes. And I think that looking at, and I think that if you wanted players to come back, unfortunately / fortunately, the perfect scenario happened yesterday where we were that close to getting there. We were that close to getting to a championship.
I get you're going with that. Yep.
So you're kind of selling them on saying, guys, we were right there. Like honestly, if you told me, like I truly do believe that if Peyton Wilson, Isaiah Moore, and Shaheem Battle did not get knocked out for targeting yesterday, I think we would have won the game. I think we would have done a better job of making it to tougher Wake Forest. So again, I think you kind of sell on that a little bit. So because again, I mean Leary's going to come back next season unless he just absolutely shocks the world.
No, he's coming back.
And
he's coming back.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Unless he shocks the world,
transfers to somewhere. I'm kidding. That would be terrible.
Yeah. So again, I mean, I think again, I think we're gonna have a great team. But even if they do go, even if Isaiah Moore and Peyton do go, you still got Drake Thomas. You still got a young linebacker core.
Someone said Zavala, even though he's like really old. Zavala's an older player. Someone said he's got like 2 years of eligibility left for some reason. I thought so. Like Icky's the only sure thing that's leaving. And I will say, you're not going to make up Icky. Like you can try to account for it, but there will be a drop off at left tackle this year because what you're saying is we have one of the greatest left tackles in school history.
Yeah,
you can't expect to just flat out replace him.
No, but I mean, you can still have. I mean, again,
but you can still get by. Yeah, you can still get by.
We're not talking about a skill player here. That's that's like a Torrey Holt or something like that, where he's a guy that just would score points for us. At the end of the day, Icky he's basically good enough right now where he is making a difference. But all we need, with offensive line is we just need a guy that can do his job. And I think that from the options that we have on the offensive line, that we can find somebody that can prove that. So, right. But the one thing which I do want to say, and I think Colby Pleasant said that apparently from what I've heard, a lot of players want to stay if they don't go to the championship. I mean, I agree. Because again, I mean, and we kind of said this at the end of the day, all these players came here saying we're coming to win ACC championship. And I think, again, we're so close. But I guess what I'm saying, either way, no matter what happens, is between what we have already and between Doran's obvious skill of filling holes, I'm confident either way that next season, barring that, again, unless we don't go through some kind of crazy injuries that we're going to
knock on wood. I'm kidding.
I know. I'll knock on some wood. But again, we still got a lot to play here, guys. Again, because one thing that we haven't even mentioned yet, we have an opportunity to go undefeated at home. I haven't even looked at the stats, but
last time that happened. Well, that's happened recently. It happened a few years ago. I do remember that happening a few years ago.
Did it? Okay, but even still, that's. I don't worry, Colby. Colby said, "Knock on wood." Don't worry, I knocked on wood, my friend. I knocked on wood. But again, I mean, that would be huge because again, I think that would be a great selling point to recruit, saying, we defend home field. Like, this is our field. This is our house. Like, we don't lose here. We went undefeated last year at home. Like, that's a great pitch that Doran can use to sell the recruits. So,
and I want to add this too a little bit. You mentioned. You kind of before you got in this last point you made, Leighton, you were talking about how I think you mentioned how Colby said the guys might come back, whatever. We're talking about that youth. When you look at the snap chart for NC State, like who played what snaps and what class they were and game, I'm looking at one. So we've had how many games we played? 10, and we have what is really interesting is that the majority of players who have by class who have played are sophomores.
Yeah.
Are sophomores. So the majority of the people playing in a given game over a season minus let's see, minus 2 games were sophomores. The other 2 games were freshmen. So Furman was the one game where freshmen played a lot, which makes sense. And then Florida State, because we were playing so well early that we didn't need to worry about it. But USF, Mississippi State, Clemson, Louisiana Tech, Boston College, Miami, Louisville, sophomores have been the highest snap percentage by the team. And then there's a couple of games where seniors are certainly like second place, but it's pretty – that was kind of telling to me. The sophomores and the freshmen, for every game this season, it's either been the sophomores or the freshmen that have led in snap counts. That is telling me that there's so much right with what Dorn's doing as far as building the program. And it's ultimately going to be about cashing it in. I think he's got the coordinator. I think we think he now has the coordinators to do so. I think the only question in the offseason that I would look at is one, well, actually, still got 2 things. I would say one, why are our players getting injured so much? I know I was looking at some forum boards that say, I know we think a lot of Thunder Dan. He's like one of the best to do it in the business.
He is.
But is the reason why we're having so many injuries on average over the last few seasons because of maybe some conditioning? I don't know. I don't know. But just that we need to look at. And then 2, running the ball. I see Benjamin Orman said got to run the ball more. I think it's the only thing. Like, why have we not been able to run the ball with Beck very well this season? And again, last year's his first year, but this is year 2 under his belt, and we're not running the ball great. So is that a scheme? Is that a position coach? Is that personnel? What is that? Beyond that, I was talking about this last week. Who would you fire? Like, usually we think like
nobody.
Off season, we're going to get ready to play. We're not. I wouldn't get rid of anybody. There's no thing that says to me this guy's got to go now.
Well, there's no position that I see that's struggling overall.
Again, the offensive line and rushing game, individually, I think they're playing. I think there's some coaching things like, okay, offensive line, these are the holes you got to make, and you got to work together some more. Yeah. I still don't think McMahon and Icky. So they did move McMahon from right guard to left guard middle of the season, and I think some chemistry there they need to work on, but. The running backs aren't running the ball bad. To me, it's more of like the scheme and the blocking and looking at the holes and maybe coach, okay, guys, what are you seeing? And let's work on the coach. But I wouldn't fire anybody.
No. Again, I mean,
and you've got sophomores and freshmen leading the way on snap count. So
that's good.
That's the whole point. That. We're not too far gone, and it's like again perspective. We have a chance to have a 9-win season. 10 wins with the bowl game if we were to win the bowl game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Championship game is still in play too. It's not out of the question yet.
It's not.
So it's like that Dumb and Dumber. So you're saying there's a chance?
I saw a couple of those last night on Twitter.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. See, I even see Twitter. That's funny. Yeah.
So we're getting kind of close in time. One thing that I wanted to go ahead and make sure to mention is that obviously, those state fans that, do know or don't know yet, we are doing our giveaway right now for the Carolina tickets, 2 Carolina tickets and a parking pass for raising money for the Jimmy V Foundation. So if you go to our Twitter, and again, I'll make sure after this live stream to post it again. But again, if you click on the link and donate at least $5 to the Jimmy V Foundation using that link, then you will be entered to win. Now, the more money you win, the more money that you donate, the more likelihood that you win. Because again, for every $5 you receive 1 entry. So again, it's really that simple. That at the end of the day, it's for a great cause, and it's in honor of Antoine Bougie Derek High. Derek Bougie High.
Derek Bougie Antoine High.
Derek Bougie Antoine High. There you go. I got the names mixed up. And so again, it's a great cause, and again, it's for an awesome opportunity of 2 free tickets with a parking pass. So make sure to go and enter before it's too late.
Yep. So, and I'll tell you guys, we're like halfway there to the goal we set. So let's keep it going. We got some time to meet that goal.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Another week.
Yep. So Benjamin said one more thought. Why, as always, year after year, our corners and safeties never turn their heads to try and make a play on balls in the air? Multiple PIs last night. Well, I mean,
I think that was just last night.
I will say the refs they were not great on the pass interference calls last night.
No,
and
no.
I think we did. There were a couple that were legit, but I think we did make a play. Battle had a great pass breakup. Engel had one that tipped it up, and we got a pick off. But yeah, it was tough, and that ended up being part of Wake's game plan to counter our game plan, because, like you said, we were blitzing a lot, and so it was man coverage, and they would just throw it up, and they have those big receivers that either caught it or got a call half the time.
You don't typically have 2 6'5", 6'6", whatever wide receivers on one on each side, typically. But and again, and I could say this again because I was part of the team, and again, not necessarily hating on Barlow or whatever it is, or hating on the corners by any means, but again,
Barlow, you say Barlow,
George Barlow.
It's Brian Mitchell now.
Well, no.
You're saying in the past. Yeah,
oh,
gotcha. I got you. Okay.
In the past, because that's where it was really a struggle. Was in the past,
you're right. Yeah.
Where players would not turn their head around. Whether again, I can mention players, but again, but with this, you don't see that. I mean, I can truly say 100% for sure. I'm telling you that is not the problem now like it was.
I agree.
Because even statistically, I don't even we have a lot of interceptions this year. Typically,
we had 10 going into the Wake Forest game, and now we just got three more.
So yeah, we probably still lead the ACC.
I was gonna say I just do like I totally agree with what you're saying, Leighton. That's all I was gonna say. Yeah. Totally agree with you. Yeah. In my perspective, I've seen us turn our heads way more. The defensive back play has been a lot better. Now, granted, there's been some big games hit passing yards, but yeah.
Yeah. And then obviously, I mean, you kind of mentioned it, Michael, and I mean, there's no doubt the referees were bad again. I mean, because again, especially that first touchdown, and again, I'll say I didn't watch it in person because I was still at the wedding then, but I was on the way home. But look, I did watch it back, and because everybody was saying that was definitely offensive PI. And there was no doubt that was offensive PI, folks. And I truly do think that if they don't get that touchdown, that makes a difference. That does make a difference. So
we could argue that if we gotten the field goal, it would have made a difference too.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
At the end of the day, it wasn't why we lost.
So that's why at the end of the day, we weren't going to spend 15 minutes here talking about all the suck calls it
happens every game. It can go either way. So
it happens. But also too, I will say that it does bug me that on the onside kick that the referee that made the call that did not go 10 yards was the referee that was looking at Ricky's back. So again,
there should have been a guy on the 45-yard lines. Should have been
that was the other thing that I saw. It was like that ref who was on the sidelines, he threw his beanbag down, like he recovered it on the 45, like, so it looked like he was calling it went 10 yards. If it didn't go 10 yards, he should have thrown his flag.
That was, I mean, I won't say, I can't, the rule it comes back to me is it has to be indisputable.
Yeah. Correct. It was one of those where whatever they called on the field was going to stand. If they had called it our ball, it would have been our ball.
And that to me is why they have to go with they have to make the most accurate call they believe in on the field. Because if otherwise you have to go be basically like indisputable, it's the other way. So,
but see, the thing that bugs me about that call, and I tweeted it basically saying that the whole night it seemed like that again calls were going Wake Forest's way, and if there was one call that I just say, if we get this call our way, we have a good chance to win this game, and that was that call. It was a 50-50 ball. Ricky literally caught it on. Or literally maybe an inch.
I mean, if it was an inch, it's an inch off. Yeah.
It was an inch. Yeah. And so it was a 50-50 call. And so, of course, it goes Wake Forest's way. Because, again, it's a gut call. And so, of course, you flip a coin and it goes Wake Forest's way. So it was like, oh, my gosh. Again, so I truly just believe it just I don't know. It
just happened.
To me, it wasn't meant to be. It just wasn't meant to be. Like golly. Because, again, if we would have gotten it, we would have had 45
That's not why we lost the game.
And 2 touchdowns. 2 timeouts and 45 seconds left to drive into field goal range. So
especially the drive we did before that to go the whole length of the field and score.
And let me put it this way: what would happen if we get down there and Dunn misses a field goal? You never know. I mean, you don't know. To me, when you look at get the book in for this game, like I said, it was us getting injured. It was penalties
not
on us.
Stop them.
We couldn't, especially on third down, we couldn't stop them, and then we were just not as efficient. I mean, you look at their total yards of offense. Wake Forest had like 100 less than us,
Yeah.
They were just more
The
efficient
other-
with the ball.
And the other stat I did see, I wanted to bring up, we had,
Okay.
I think, 6 3-and-outs, the 3 picks. So that's 9 possessions. And we got 10 points off of those 9 possessions. So there's the ball game too.
That stinks. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, I hope out of this, first of all, because again, I think us Tuffy Talk again, we always try and push positivity again, just like I said at the beginning, because obviously at the end of the day, there's so much good going on, just at least with this football program, but overall within the program. I mean, like, again, we can go on and on, but again, I hope that, for those who were, maybe, a little bit upset during, for those who are a little bit upset about the season, hopefully this kind of sheds a little bit of light, kind of the positivity and the things still on the table here for this season. So, but thank you all so much again for tuning in. Again, really do appreciate it. Make sure, again, if you're tuning in with us, please make sure you hit that subscribe button, as it really helps support us in the channel. Give us a follow at Tuffy Talk Now if you aren't already on Twitter and Instagram, and give this video a like. We really appreciate the support. And again, just really excited here for what's there. There's still so much to play for, and we're so excited to continue covering it and talking about it. And thank you all so much again for tuning in. For those who send in their comments, we always love to see those. And for those who are listening in afterwards or watching afterwards, make sure to tune in with us. We'd love to have you all here. But thank you all so much again for y'all support. Again, as always, go Pack, y'all, and be safe. All right,
Okay, guys.
go Pack, guys.